What's up, football world? I am Bucky Brooks, and this is LZ, Lance Zierlein. Joining me on Move the Sticks. LZ, what's going on?
How we doing, Buck? How you recovering week after the draft? All the draft stuff.
I mean, look, that's all in the rear view. I'm deep, fully immersed in these playoffs, and I know down in H-Town it's hard. It's hard for a pimp right now. You got your squad eliminated, and KD couldn't show up. What's going on? What's going on with the Rockets?
I mean, no one's ever come back from a bone bruise in the history of basketball, so that's just how it is.
I mean, it's just random. Then you got to sit there and watch James Harden go three the hard way, lead his team there. I know things are not good in H-Town right now. I know
that. No. I don't have I'm watching playoffs. I don't have to watch them as intently with as much emotion behind it, though. So we'll see. Shout out to LeBron though, and the Lakers for, they had dudes out and they stepped up. That's just the way it is. That's what you have to do. Next man up.
Next man up. And speaking of next man up, we're going to talk about some of these best 2026 NFL draft hauls. In terms of looking at it, you've had a couple of weeks to kind of review the classes, see who's who and what's what. Initially, who's the team that really stands out to you in terms of really having a great draft?
I got a few, but I want to start with Tampa Bay. I really like what Tampa Bay did. Number one, they had Ruben Bain fall to him, and they took him. I think he's going to be a great fit. You obviously saw he snatch that hat off the ledge. Like everyone else stopped. They got the hat. They looked in the mirror, showing out. He snatched that hat, went out, dapped up the commissioner, and was like, let's go. And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, woo, defensive rookie of the year, maybe.
Yeah, that's your guy. I know you're going heavy.
I like that at number 15. I like Josiah Trotter just fine in the second round. I think he's going to be a good fit with that defense. I think he still needs a little bit more seasoning, but I had no problem with that because that is a big need selection. And I feel like Trotter fits there. Ted Hurst in the third round. You and I were expecting him to go maybe late second. They got him with the 20th pick of the third round. Really good value. I thought Light just drafted good football players. Keontae Scott in the fourth. To me, if you put him in the right position, he's going to be excellent. Now, the question on Keontae Scott is, can he cover? Can he cover man-to-man? Which is why he fell to the fourth, because teams see him more as, a nickel corner. He's a big nickel. You play him in some zone. You put him in zone and you let him attack downhill against the run game. You got another will linebacker on your team, basically. He's that good against the run. And then Tamonte Capehart in the fifth round, defensive tackle out of Clemson. I really like the draft that Jason Light had. They didn't get too slick with it. They just drafted good football.
It's funny. I don't know if you were on that day, Pat, to the draft. We had Jason Light on one of the final days, and we talked about the draft, and we talked about I had asked him, I said, man, this kind of feels like you guys are getting back to your identity. I said, this was a rough and rugged draft. Everybody that you drafted, particularly on defense, they all kind of have some of that old school throwback, nasty attitude. And with Ruben Bain, it's funny, I saw some of the comments from Tampa down there, and they just talk about he has kind of like this perpetual angry look. He just has this angry man feel. And like talked about, in a perfect world, man, you like your first rounder to set the tone for that class. And because he's edgy and serious and physical and feisty, everyone from that class kind of has that edge. And when you follow it up with Josiah Trotter, Keontae Scott, you talked about Capehart. To me, this was about the Buccaneers kind of getting back to their bullish ways in terms of when they've been at their best, their defense just kind of knocks you around. And I feel like all of these players are cut from the same cloth. So I love that. And then to get Ted Hurst in the third round, I know like it's impossible to say that, hey, someone can come in and fill Mike Evans' shoes. But man, I thought, looking at the notes, I just thought he was a polished X receiver. And I know there's a bit of a transition when you go from a smaller school to kind of jumping into the league. But I just felt like the way that he runs routes, the way that he catches the ball, how easy it is for him. To me, he looks like a natural X receiver all day, every day.
Yeah, you think he's going to be a really long, linear receiver who's kind of has to run a little bit more simple route tree. But that's not really who he is. Like, he's got good short area quickness. He can bend a little bit. He is that rare – he's got good speed vertical, but he has the ability to run. You mentioned him being an X. I mean, If you need to run routes over the first and second level, he can do it. So I don't think the route tree is going to be an issue for him. You have a player who can win vertically, who's got the size, who can get up above the rim. And Mike is special. Mike Evans is one of the special big targets who can get you a tough third down catch, a little third down slant where everyone's bearing down on him. He's going to make that catch. You want to get a little dig route going, he can run that route. You need to throw the ball up in the air down the field 35 yards, 28 to 35 yards and go one-on-one and go get it up in the air. He can do that too. So Mike's different, but Ted Hurst may not be able to fill those shoes necessarily. He's going to be a Hall of Famer, Mike Evans. But I think – so the question is, can you get something out of him this year and certainly by next year? I think the answer is yes. I think Ted Hurst is going to come in. He may only be a 500 or 600-yard receiver this year, considering they've got Godwin and Emekabu, but Egbuka, but he'll be a good fit. He'll be a good fit for them. It may not happen right off the bat. He is going from Georgia State to the NFL, but it's going to happen. I feel pretty good about that pick.
Yeah, no, I love that pick, and I love just the overall haul. If you think about the impact that they have, like those first 4 picks, to me, are guys that jump right into the rotation right away. Reuben Baines, Josiah Trotter, Ted Hurst, as we're talking about, and then Keontae Scott. And you talked about Keontae Scott and man-to-man cover skills. But to me, anyone that watches Tampa knows they are one of the most creative zone blitz teams that you'll find. Ty Bowles is going to bring pressure from everywhere. And I just think back at Keontae Scott that last year at Miami, how he just made all kinds of plays at the line of scrimmage, just coming off the edge. I think he is a nice weapon for Ty Bowles to lean into. And when I look at their overall haul, I would expect them to feel really good about their team, given what they're bringing in young and then some of the free agents that they've already added to a solid nucleus. Let's go to another team that I felt like was very similar to Tampa in terms of, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we can close our eyes and just kind of know who they are. I feel like the Baltimore Ravens are always like that. Like if we're just looking at tape, you can just tell, yeah, that dude's a Raven. He's a Raven. And when I tell you, just right out the gate, Venga Yaone and Zion Young, I just can't think of 2 guys that better embody what the Ravens are about when it comes to their physicality and just physicality and toughness all the time.
Yeah. I mean, they're trench guys. So I'm totally with you. These are great Ravens picks. Starts with Venga Iwani, who gets downhill and can just mash you, is just really consistent, kind of one of the best high floor prospects in this draft, meaning he's highly unlikely to bust. He's very likely to be at least a double for you. Love that for the Ravens. They didn't get too cute with it. We were all plugging either him or Kenyon Sadiq in there, and he ends up being the pick, and it made so much sense the entire draft process because he fits the culture, fits the need, fits. Zion Young is absolutely a Raven. I mean, really physical at the point of attack, has a little extra attitude to him as well, talks a lot on the field and off the field. I mentioned a story in the draft broadcast with you, Bucky. I talked to his the O-line coach from Missouri, who told me that we were talking about Keegan Trost, one of the tackle over there. And he said, the coach told me there were no plays off against Zion Young. Like practice was like a war every single day. Every snap was a war. You had to go get it every single day or he was going to take it from you. And so that mentality, it sharpened, iron sharpens iron. It helped the offensive lineman, but it also really speaks to who you're getting with Zion Young. And you're going to get, look, he needs to get better as a pass rusher. There's some things he needs to do better as a rusher. He's got power as a rush. He's going to have to become more skilled, going to have to throw some more tools in that bag. But you've got toughness off the jump that is ready for the NFL, and he's a really good run defender as well. So it could be interesting to see if they eventually reduce him down and have him rush inside as a sub package rusher, on third downs. We'll see if that happens. But I know they got a tough guy and they got a Raven. I mean, they're 100%. You're right on that one, man. They got a Raven. And then I could say the same thing about their 4th round pick, Elijah Surratt. He went from a low-level Division II school to the FCS onto Indiana, and he showed out every single spot. He had a chip on his shoulder, and he brought that chip on his shoulder all the way to a national championship. He's not fast. He doesn't separate. He just makes catches. Like he always makes catches. He can win contested catches. There's some questions about athletically, how's he going to get open? I just know everywhere he's been, he's played at a high level and he's been highly productive. And that's the kind of mentality you want for the Ravens. You want somebody who is going to really come in there with a chip on their shoulder. That's kind of who they are as a team. No matter where you were drafted, where you came from, there's almost a chip on your shoulder mentality that was grown with Ray Lewis and every class after Ray with Ed Reed, and it's just kind of carried forward. It's rare you see something like that carry forward for over 25 years, but that standard was set with it wasn't just Ray Lewis, it was Ozzie. The standard was set with Ozzie, and then it's been passed down to Eric DaCosta, and it stayed in that building. Like it's been a Raven vibe for a long time, and it started with Ozzie.
What's interesting is, I'll say this, Lance, and I don't know if I've told you the story. One of the highlights of my combine experience every year was to sit up in what we call the barber shop. And at the time, it was Ozzie Newsome, it was Art Perkins, it was Shaq Harris, Doug Williams would fall in there. But I felt like I was getting graduate school level teaching when it came to scouting. They're the guys that told me that when you look at a prospect and look, man, look at his jumps, and it's going to give you foreshadowing on how fast he's going to run. Ozzie was one that told me about sack production carries over. And we used Elvis Dumervil as the example because Elvis Dumervil led the NCAA in sacks his final season at Louisville with 20. And then he's undersized and all that, but he goes to the league and does what? Becomes a Pro Bowl player. And I think with the Ravens, one of the things that I admire and that we used to admire when we scouted for other teams is how consistent they were, particularly early in drafts. First and second round, man, it was rare that they had a flat out miss. And when I look at how they go about it, to me, man, it seems it's about their performance and production, but they also have a great feel for what works for them. And so when I look at this list, okay, they go get two big body wide receivers, Jacoby Lane and Elijah Surratt. But then they do what they've always done when it comes to tight end. Matthew Hibner, Josh Cuevas from Alabama. And it reminds me of when they go and get like whoever it is Dennis Pita and Hayden Hurst and whoever they brought in that same year, Mark Andrews. Like they double up all the time, and it tends to work out for them at those positions.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. And these are two kind of actually similar tight ends, so I'm kind of curious how they're going to use them, even though Cuevas, I think, can be moved around a little bit more. I'm interested to see how they're going to do that, but clearly they feel like, they lost Isaiah Likely. Mark Andrews is coming up on – we'll see how much longer he plays with the Ravens, but I like those picks for the Ravens, and there was another one too. Oh, Chandler Rivers. I thought Chandler Rivers was a steal in the fifth round. I know some teams who had a third round grade on him that liked him a lot, and I think he's got a chance to become a future starting nickel over there for the Ravens. Really good pick for them. How about the Browns, Bucky? How about let's stay in the AFC North? The Browns, there was a time where the Browns, when they had two picks in the first round, it just meant we were setting up for a disaster. We were going to be in – and now look, we'll see what happens. But then you had three picks in 17. It became Myles Garrett, Jabril Peppers, and David Njoku. I would argue that's a pretty good draft. Yeah. In 2015, you had Danny Shelton and Cam Irving. Not a hit. In 2014, Justin Gilbert and Johnny Manziel. Not a hit.
Woo.
2012, Trent Richardson and Brandon Whedon. It was just a history of when they had two picks in the first round, it's not going to be good. Joe Thomas, Brady Quinn, one of those was a Hall of Famer. One of them.
Yeah.
But so that's not a miss. That's not a miss. But there was a lot of misses. They did much better with the Jabril and Njoku, and obviously Myles Garrett is a future Hall of Famer. What'd you think of this year's first? Spencer Fano, who they're going to move from the right side to the left, I assume, and KC Concepcion going 24. I know that wasn't your top receiver on the board, but what'd you think of what they did with their two first-rounders this year?
I really like what they've done. And it's something that's going around. They talked about how the Browns drafts have significantly improved since Paul DePodesta has kind of stepped to the side. And you're looking at the depth and the quality of their class coming on the heels of a very solid class last year. Spencer Farno was my top offensive tackle. And even though he's a right tackle primarily, the versatility, I just like his movement skills. I like the toughness. And I think the Browns want to get back to being able to move people around on the line of scrimmage. Casey Concepcion, even though I would peg him primarily as a slot receiver, and I know people talk about the drops, but man, his toughness, his playmaking ability, um, after he gets the rock in his hands, you love. And to backstop Casey Concepcion with Denzel Boston, who many expected to go in the first round,
Right.
uh, you love what they've done to that. And then to get a safety, EMW. You know, we were talking about him at 18, 19, 20, somewhere in there. Emmanuel McNeil Warren may go. They get him at the middle of the second round. Just those 4 picks alone, you feel better about their chances. And I will say the 2 picks that they took, one at the bottom of the 5th round, Joe Royer from Cincinnati, I love because I love the player. And then Taylor Green from Arkansas. I'm going to say this. I know people were really on Cole Payton and what he can be. To me, Taylor Green was by far a more explosive and dynamic dual threat. To have him in the 6th round to just throw a dart at, you got to like that if you're Todd Monken, particularly when you're Todd Monken and you've had success with Lamar Jackson.
Quality up and down. I mean, Austin Barber, I have a lower grade on him than a lot of people, but I know the league liked him as a swing tackle. So from a league standpoint, I think they did a good job of finding a swing tackle and Austin Barber there a little later in the third. Parker Brailsford and Justin Jefferson, smart football players out of Alabama. Parker could end up becoming a future starter for him. He's going to need to because he's a center only. You're probably not just going to keep a backup center, but that's a great spot to win a job. I mean, it's a great spot to win a job over there with the Ravens after you lost your starting center. Justin Jefferson, good speed, very smart linebacker. You mentioned Royer. That's just a great value pick in the 5th round. You're risking nothing with the 30th pick of the 5th round. And Taylor Green, similar. We all watch Vince Young play. I see a lot of Vince Young and Taylor Green. Um, I think that he runs. Vince may be. I don't know if Vince is. Sometimes when you watch Taylor Green, you don't think he's that fast, and then you don't see people catch him. Like once he gets his legs going, it's just like VY was. It's hard to. I think VY had a little better early acceleration. Vince wasn't a great passer either. Taylor's got his moments where he needs to improve as a passer. But I think that there's a little. I think there's enough flashes with Taylor Green that I love this pick in the 6th round. I love it. And I could see him on this roster in 4 years. I could see Taylor Green outlasting potentially every quarterback on that roster with the Browns, depending on what direction they go in. So that's, that in and of itself, I like that idea of drafting him in the 6th there.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love how they go about it, the process and everything. And maybe, just maybe, it's a new day in Cleveland. We'll see if they can get the performance to match up with the production from their class. I mean, meaning the team performance to match up with the production from their rookie classes, particularly after last year's class dominated. But you got to love it. Before we go on, let's take a break. And we'll come back and talk about the rest of the class. All right, Lance, who else are you buzzing on? You talked about those guys. Let me go. And I'm gonna say this, and it's really kind of funny to look at and to think about the Raiders kind of getting things right, because I know people have given the Raiders a hard time. But Lance, I kind of like their draft. I kind of like what they did. When I think about Fernando Mendoza at number 1, we like that. Tre'Davious Stukes at 2. People who were saying they were giving him 1st-round love. I love the 4th-round selections, Jamal McCoy, Mike Washington, and then Malik Benson in the 6th round. To me, this was just a team that really kind of is beginning to understand how they want to get down. But I love how these players match up with how they say they want to play going forward.
I don't see one guy in here that I would personally consider a reach. And once again, once we get to the term reach, it's all subjective. So, but when I saw this, Tre'Davious Stukes, they traded back with the Texans, picked up a pick, and still got the guy that they wanted. You got Crawford and Zune, who have future starting potential. Zune has multiple position flexibility. play guard or center out of Texas A&M. You mentioned the fourth rounders, McCoy and Washington. Listen, these are so you've got Mike Washington, who's a height, weight, speed running back,
Mhm.
as the second back behind Ashton Genty. Like Ashton Genty has some breakaway big playability, and now you're throwing a 228-pound 4.340 running back behind him. If you get that zone scheme, that outside zone stuff, if you get it blocked up right, Mike Washington could be a terror as a second back in that offense. So, and that's before we even get to Dalton Johnson, Dalton Johnson is going to be a special
Mhm.
team star and maybe a future starter as a fifth rounder. Hezekiah Massis, great ball skills, ran a little slow, but he's got tremendous ball production. Malik Benson, loved him on tape. True track speed. I mean, real vertical track speed. And then Brandon Cleveland in the seventh round. Most teams I talked to said he was more of a fourth or fifth rounder who was going to be a rotational defensive tackle. I'm not sure you got anybody in this draft, 6, 8, 12 players, 2, 4, 6, 8,
Mhm.
no, 10 players. I think all 10 make the roster. And by the end of year 3, my guess is you will have a minimum of 4 starters with as many as potentially 5 or 6 starters out of this group, possibly 5 starters, and every one of them will have played for you. Every single one of them will have played, and I think be on your roster after 3 years. That's the kind of draft I think they had. Rock solid
Yeah.
across the board.
Yeah, real solid all the way across, and I like the marriage between the prospects and their playing style and the coaches scheming and those things. That should help them. That's really the most important part of the process, fit and scheme. We talk about it all the time. So yeah, things are looking up in Las Vegas as the Raiders appear to have gotten it right over draft weekend. Who's next on your list? Who next are you buzzing on?
Let me jump on Chiefs real quick because there's
Okay.
some very specific guys I want to talk about here. I love the idea of trading. So I had a chance to visit with uh, some execs on the Chiefs after the draft to kind of get some intel on moving up because I thought they moved up because Delane was on the board and Arvell Reese was on the board, and I figured that was it. And they said, no, really, it was just Delane. We wanted to get up there. We knew number 5 wasn't going to take Mansour Delane, and we wanted to get up there and capture the 6th pick before someone else could because number 7 and number 8 both needed cornerbacks, Washington and New Orleans. Number 11, Miami needed cornerback. Dallas at 12 needed cornerback. They wanted to get up there and get to 6 picks so no one else could get up there because that pick was for sale. So I love the way I love the pick. I'm a big fan of Mansour Delane's. He was my number 3 player on my board this year. But I also like the fact that Brett Veach went up there and snatched that pick away so no one else could pull some shenanigans because there was no way the Giants were trading out of Arvell Reese. They were going to take best available there. So I like what he did. I like the pick there. Peter Woods, I get it. You think you're going to get an upfield player, somebody that you think is going to really show out playing in that defense next to Chris Jones. Or Mason Thomas, we'll see. This is a small pass rusher who's got great get off. I do worry sometimes, Bucky, about how he plays the run. So did you draft just a DPR, designated pass rusher, with the 8th pick in the 2nd round? I'm curious to see how that goes. But I was also a big fan. They had no pick in the 3rd. Jaden Kennedy was one of the more out of the nickel. He was one of the more consistent disruptors of the pass that I watched on tape all year long for any cornerback. He was literally competing for the catch in the catch space on almost every single throw I watched. I was really impressed with Kennedy, and a little undersized, but I really like that pick in the 4th. I know you liked Emmett Johnson in the 5th for Nebraska.
Yeah, man. Look, so I'm gonna say this. Day 3, you talked about Kennedy being able to contribute special teams and those things. Nickel, Emmett Johnson and Garrett Nussmeier are 2 picks to me that could pay huge dividends down the line. Emmett Johnson, to me, I thought he was one of the top backs in his class. People have their own opinions on these backs, but when I watched him dominate in the Big Ten, I saw a guy that could run it, could get on the perimeter, could catch the ball in space, has some wiggle to him. I think he's really a poor man's version of the guy that they just brought over in free agency in Kenneth Walker. You think about stylistically how their games are the same. Eric Bieniemy should have a lot of fun with that. And then Garrett Nussmeier, Andy Reid leaning into a philosophy that was a long time staple of the Green Bay Packers way back when Ron Wolf was there, and we all were there. I was a player, Andy was a coach up under Mike Holmgren. He takes Garrett Nussmeier, even though they don't have an immediate need at quarterback. Whenever you have a chance to take a young quarterback to develop, it is not only backstopping the most important position on the field, but it's significant trade currency if you can develop that player into the talented player that when he gets a chance to play, he impresses in a 2, 3, 4 game stint. We've seen people pay big dollars and swing big swings over those guys. It just makes sense. Son of a coach, has some really impressive flashes in 2024. For whatever reason, the wheels fell off this year. But for Andy Reid in the 7th round to identify a quarterback and be like, yeah, we're good. Let's take him. I love that. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Kansas City Chiefs are always in the conversation.
Yeah, I've got no problem with taking Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, Nussmeier became Quinn Ewers this year. We all thought Quinn was going to go maybe in the 4th round last year, maybe in the 3rd, and he ended up falling to the 7th. I'm still to this day not really sure. I know he was
crazy, right?
Getting beat up a little bit. I don't know why he fell. Garrett Nussmeier. Both of them had some injury issues pile up on them over the course of the season, and it impacted their final season. It's amazing. Actually, there's a lot of similarities between Nussmeier and Quinn Ewers. But I thought for the Dolphins to get Quinn Ewers in the 7th was a great pickup. I didn't love all of Nussmeier's tape. I think he's too careless with the football. But if you get a chance to get a guy who has some arm talent and can make some throws like Garrett Nussmeier, and who has, you kind of laid out, Bucky, the starts and the experience and the background of being a coach's son. You get all that in the 7th round, late in the 7th round. All it takes is that guy to show out in 2 preseason games, and all of a sudden somebody's offering you a 4th round pick. So,
I mean,
I like it. It's a commodity to me.
Yeah, it's a trade chip. And remember, Howie Roseman has always stated that in Philadelphia, he wanted to have a quarterback factory. They wanted to be in the business of building and developing quarterbacks and eventually either keeping them or trading them off. He spent for his formative years working under Andy Reid. Andy Reid took that philosophy directly from Ron Wolf and Mike Holmgren, because I can tell you in Green Bay, I mean, there was a time where they had Ty Detmer, Mark Brunell, and Brett Favre on the team. When I was there, it was Ty Detmer and Jim McMahon and Doug Peterson. So, like, they've always invested in the quarterback position, and I just wouldn't understand why more teams don't. Hey, let's take cuts. Let's see if we can develop them. Everyone knows all it takes is a little flash and the league will bite on it. Like, just think about Malik Willis. 2 games, some flashes, a lot of money. And, oh, by the way, Lance, if you ever throw a first pitch, you have to throw it better than Malik Willis. Like, whatever
Go to the grass,
was,
right? Go to the grass, right? That's the rule.
I don't know why he got on the mound. If you're not a pro, stay your tail off the mound. Get on the side thing, do the ceremonial pitch, just lob that thing up. It can be the eephus pitch, whatever. But do not go on the mound if you're gonna throw that thing over the backside. That was one of the worst that I've ever seen.
You can't do it. It's a raised, elevated mound, and you're striding downward. Like, that's not how you throw a football. You're used to flat land. Stay on that flat ground, Malik. Stay on the flat ground. Listen, at least it wasn't 50 Cent. At least it wasn't Stephen A. It wasn't the mayor from Cincinnati. It wasn't what's her name with the high voice? Mariah Carey. It's not going to be Mariah Carey, but I will say this: at least Malik airmailed it. You don't want to come up real short or throw way left or way right. At least he is like, really just gave it gas.
If you're
gonna miss, it better be gas.
I'm waiting for the day that maybe the Dodgers call, or somebody else calls, and I have to go out there and all the nerves and all that. I think I'll fire that thing up like a jump shot. I just lob that thing over there and just try and get it into proximity.
I thought the same thing. My God. Bun B, I've had 2 friends, Bun B and Eric Layden, who lives there in La Jolla. Eric threw out first pitch. Bun and Eric both shot the first shot, like opening shot for the Rockets, for Rockets game. And I can shoot the ball.
That's more pressure, though. I'll take the first pitch over there. That's more pressure.
I'm like, okay, well, I can,
free or free throw?
I can shoot a little bit, but if you get up there and everyone's like, you lose your feel, your sense of, and Eric made his shot. My man Eric made his shot. I'm up there just thinking, okay, just gooseneck, spin it. take the breath, and then release high, keep the gooseneck. I bet all that goes out the door when you got to shoot in front of everybody.
Where are they shooting from?
Bun missed. My man Bun missed, but that's okay.
Are they shooting from the free throw line or shooting from the 3-point line?
Free throw.
Oh, well, that's tight. 20,000 in there. It's all fun and games. It's all fun and games.
Everyone's watching. It's way different when everyone's watching.
It's great. All fun and games. I said fun and games. It looked like the New York Jets had a lot of fun. They were playing a lot of games on draft night. We've talked about this class a couple times on here. David Bailey, Kenyon Sadiq, Omar Cooper, D'Angelo Pounds. Yeah. Look, they get Daryl Jackson Jr., Kate Klubnik, Inez Cooper, and VJ Payne. And what I'll say, Lance, right out the gate about the Jets, I love the fact that if you're trying to change the culture, you want to have a winning culture, you got to take winners. So the first 4 picks come from the college football playoff. They understand the standards and expectations that come with winning. You have Aaron Glenn taking a pass rush, which they desperately needed. They get a weapon, 2 weapons on offense, one to control the middle, and Kenyon Sadiq, another one as a nice, I think he's a solid number 2 all day, Omar Cooper Jr. And then D'Angelo Pounds to be able to come and just play that nickel role. I just like what they did early. And then look, late in the draft, they threw some, I would say, some effective darts, meaning they were well thought out, low risk darts that they're trying to take on a quarterback and some others. I just think for so long we've joked on the Jets. And I got to say, man, they kind of got it right with their first 4 picks.
I feel like they did too. I liked what they did with those first 4. And it's a draft that you need some guys who can play quickly. I feel like all 4 of those guys can play quickly. I still think Omar Cooper's still learning the position a little bit, and there's more meat on the bone in terms of him being a vertical receiver. But Kenyon Sadiq, just from an athletic standpoint, is going to come in and compete for catches right away. D'Angelo Pounds is just an absolute dog on every snap. I mean, that kind of mentality is going to play in the league quickly. David Bailey will get out there and start heating up the pocket. Yeah, and then one other guy I want to mention, Inez Cooper, kind of a basic player. He's not, once you get him off a home base, he starts to slow down. So you gotta stay downhill with him. There's a certain type of run play you need to run with him. But when you run behind him, he has a real mentality that I think you'll love, that the offensive line coaches are going to love. Just a little bit limited in terms of what you can do schematically. So, yeah, those first 4, and they came from playoff teams. Every one of them: David Bailey, Kenyon Sadiq, Omar, and D'Angelo Pounds. You got to get some guys that have. You mentioned a winning background. How do you change culture? You can change culture by getting some guys who know what it takes to win. D'Angelo Pounds and David Bailey were transfer ins, were portal ins from Stanford and from, James Madison and then Stanford, respectively. Sadiq, homegrown from what I remember, yeah. And then Omar Cooper was there. I believe he was Indiana the entire time. So hard to keep up now. I mean, everyone's coming from portal now. So you got to figure out if a guy played at 2 schools or what was his 3rd school again. Like, I think it's only going to get crazier.
Yeah, it's only going to get crazier. Last thing about that, David Bailey over Arvell Reese, any concerns, any doubts? Or are you cool with David Bailey?
No, I'm cool with it. I mean, you had to look, that pick for the Jets is going to be scrutinized. I remember a long time ago, there was a guy named Michael Jordan who was drafted 3rd. Ooh. And everyone remembers who was drafted 2. Yeah. Sam Bowie. So that pick's going to be scrutinized. If David Bailey flops and Arvell shows out, it is what it is. You had KD went 3 and you had, or did KD go 2 and number 1 was the big man from Ohio State.
Right? Big boy, Greg Oden.
Yeah, Greg Oden. Oden was 1, right? And KD was 2.
Yeah.
So anytime you have a selection, like there was no choice at number 1. We all know who was going. But anytime you have a choice between 2 talented players and you choose wrong, you're opening yourself up for history to kind of make fun of you a little bit. So, but you got to go with who you like. You got to go with that. That's why you get paid this good money. You live in a nice house. Is you got to fade that heat, but you also have to make those important decisions. And when you make them right, you can change an organization. If you miss, history won't remember you kindly. So that's just the way it goes.
No, that is the way it goes. And so I guess we're in agreement. The one that we both love, the New York Giants, Arville Reese at 5, Francis Maunoa at 10, Colton Hood going
Yep,
in the second round, Malachi Fields, Bobby Jameson Travis, JC Davis, and Jack Kelly.
solid.
Overall, what do you just think about the Giants draft?
It's solid. I mean, they let guys fall to him. Arvell Reese. Ooh, we didn't think he'd be here at 5. Oh, Maya Noah's here at 10. Oh, we got to take him. Ooh, Colton Hood fell to the second round. Oh, got to grab
Mhm.
him. It's kind of like, well, we got good football players falling to us who fit our what we want to do. For the most part, Reese will figure out what they do with him. Malachi Fields ran a little slow, fell into the third round instead of the second, where his tape's kind of second, his
Mhm.
speed's more almost fourth. You got him in a third. I'm good with it. I'm good with it. Bobby Jameson Travis, who's a sixth rounder, a lot of people won't know him, but he's got NFL traits. So they had 4 picks inside the first 3 rounds, no pick in the fourth, no pick in the fifth. They had to I think they had to strike with good football players in their first 100 picks, and I think they it appears as though they did that. I like all those players where they drafted them, and
Yeah.
appear to have pretty good football players who fit real positions of need: corner, wide receiver, rush/linebacker with Reese. You got a guard in Manoa. They're going to move him to guard, but he's got tackle
Mhm.
flexibility. He was a top offensive lineman that they had on their board. So, yeah, Giants, good job by the Giants.
Yeah, no, what I like about that is also having a clear plan that they could communicate and articulate to the fans right away. Hey, Arville Reese is our starting weak side linebacker. Francis
Mhm.
Mount, he's going to start at right guard. There's no, hey, we're going to have a competition. We're going to bring him in here. Let's see how to compete. Nope. Let's slide him in. Let's get him in those positions. Let's get him ready. And then Colton Hood, who I won't say it's the steal of the draft, but I absolutely love the player. I like where he's going to in terms of the environment. I love the D coordinator um, Denard Wilson. And I just think, man, he's such a good player that he's going to flourish in an environment. I can't say anything bad about the Giants. I just love the picks from top to bottom. And it might be one of the reasons why, man, can both New York teams be competitive and off the mat? It's been a
Well, we'll
minute since
see.
we've seen that. It's been a
Every
minute.
year is supposedly going to be the Jets and there's going to be the Mets and the Yankees are supposed to both be competitive, and it never ends up working out that way. We're going to have the Nets and the Nets and the Knicks. We both going to have. Can this finally happen with football? Can we finally get it with football? We'll see. It's been a long. I think Boomer Esiason was a quarterback back in the day. Maybe it's been a long time. Sanchez, I guess Mark Sanchez.
Yeah,
It's
he had
probably
a
the
little.
last time Sanchez and Eli since the last time we saw them both
Ooh,
scrap a little bit, and that wasn't a long run for the Jets. It
that,
was
that
kind of
was.
short lived. So we'll see if that
Yeah.
was. We'll save some more teams next time we come back, Bucky. We'll hit on some more teams, and then I mean, there's always topics developing and subtopics developing during the off season. That's one of the fun things.
It is one of the fun things, man. It's always great when I got my man LZ on to join me. And I know Thursday, LZ will come back and do another one.
Sounds good. I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, until next time. Bucky Brooks, LZ, move the sticks. Later.